Hi there, and thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to be looking at lesson 2.5, and we're only going to focus on how to write compound inequalities today. Tomorrow or your next lesson will be on part 2, and that'll be how to solve them. Today we're going to look at 9 things to write in our notes. Let's go ahead and get started. First thing we want to look at is the difference between compound inequalities when you're talking about and or. The first one here on the left is a representative of an and expression. That just means that there's an overlap. So numbers greater than 7 and numbers less than 15 are in the middle of a number line. So the numbers that are greater than 7 are also less than 15. The numbers less than 15 can also be greater than 7. So that just means it includes an overlap. For the one over here though, or does not include an overlap. So if you think about it, x is less than -5, that goes -6, -7, -8, etc. Where x is greater than 3, you're talking about 4, 5, 6, 7, etc. These do not include an overlap because they don't have anything in common. So maybe you could also write nothing in common for or. So this is basically the difference between them. Go ahead and take time now to pause the video so you can write down the difference between and versus or. And once you're done, click play so you can see how to start writing some of these. So a compound inequality is basically when you have two numbers and you're trying to use an inequality symbol to represent them on the number line. The easiest way for me to look at these is I look at each one individually. This first one here on the left should be x is less than or equal to -6. Or sorry, greater than or equal to -6 because it's a closed symbol and it's pointing to the right. Over here, we're going to have x is less than 3 because that's an open circle and pointing back to the left. Okay? Because I want my compound inequality to be x is greater than or equal to -6 but still less than 3, what I'm going to do now is write down my numbers. I'm going to write down -6, and x will have to be here in the middle, and then 3 here on the right side. I do need to keep in mind that I need x to be eaten by the alligator, so I'm going to say the alligator should be facing this way for the portion of 6, and then for the 3, the alligator can be eating the 3, so it will look like this. So my compound inequality will be -6 should be less than or equal to x, which is less than 3. So here's one that you're going to try. Again, write the two inequalities to describe each interval, and then write a compound inequality. Go ahead and take time now to pause the video so you can try it on your own, and once you're done, click play to check your work. Alright, so we have this one would be x is greater than -5 because it's an open circle pointing to the right, and then over here on the right we have x is less than or equal to 4 because closed circle pointing to the left. Again, to write my compound inequality, I start by writing my 3 things, a -5, an x, and a +4. I do need the x to be, in between the -5 and the x, I need the x to be eaten by the alligator, and then for the 4, I need it to be eaten the 4. So -5 is less than x, which is less than or equal to 4. Here's another one, so go ahead and pause the video here so you can try number 3, and once you're done, click play to see your answer. Okay, so the first one will have x is greater than or equal to -4, and this one is x is less than or equal to 5. So to write my compound inequality, I have -4x and 5. X will still be the alligator eating it, I'm just flipping that around, and then x is less than or equal to 5. 5 still has an alligator eating that one. Here's another one, so again, let's go ahead and try 4. This is the last and example, and then we're going to try to see some ors. Alright, so we have x is greater than -3, and this one x is less than 6. So my inequality, I'll start with -3. X is, the inequality symbol is facing the x still, and then over here the inequality symbol is facing the 6. So -3 is less than x, which is less than 6. The next type of inequalities you're going to see in your homework tonight is or, and that just means they don't have overlaps. So this is going to be an example of an or inequality. So how you would write these, you're just basically going to write two separate inequalities because they're not going to overlap. So for this example, we're going to have x is less than or equal to -6, and then over here x is greater than 3. So my compound inequality is x is less than or equal to -6, or x is greater than 3. So you need to write it with the or in the middle. So let's go ahead and try number 5. So let's pause the video here so you can try this one. Once you're done, click play. Alright, so the first one we have x is less than -5, and here x is greater than or equal to 4. So my compound inequality, x is less than -5, or x is greater than or equal to 4. Here's number 6. Let's go ahead and pause here. Again, writing your or inequality. Once you're done, click play. So we have x is less than or equal to -4, or x is greater than or equal to 5. So your compound inequality should look like this. X is less than or equal to -4, or x is greater than or equal to 5. And then here's one more to try before we try two different examples. Let's go ahead and pause here. Write your compound inequality to describe the or example. So first we have x is less than -3, and second we have x is greater than 6. So my compound inequality, x is less than -3, or x is greater than 6. The next thing you're going to see is whenever your compound inequalities are written in sentences, and then you have to write them and then graph them. So for this example, it says a number x is greater than -8. I write them as two separate ones first, and then less than or equal to 4. The nice thing is that it already tells us it's an and, so my and inequality is going to be put together. Again, x is having the alligator eat it, and then 4 is having the alligator eat it. So this is what it would look like, and then if you're graphing it, just for the sake of time, I'm just going to put a -8 and a 4 here. The -8 would have an open symbol, and the 4 would have a closed symbol, and they'd be connected like this. Okay, for this one, letter B, notice it's or. So y is at most 0, that just means less than or equal to 0, or at least 2. Y is greater than or equal to 2. On your number line here, here's 0, here's 2. Greater than or equal to 2 would be a closed circle pointing right. Less than or equal to 0, closed circle pointing left. Okay? So here are the last two that you're going to try. Write the sentence as an inequality and then graph them. So let's go ahead and pause right now. And then once you're done, click play so you can check your work. Okay, this first one is and. So we should have d is more than 0, so greater than 0. And we can also have it be less than 10. So putting those together, we have 0, d, and 10. So we should have 0 is less than d, which is less than 10. And then our graph would just be two open circles connecting. Okay, and number A is fewer than -6, so less than -6, or no less than -3, that'd be greater than or equal to -3, so that when we graph -6 and 3, less than 6 will be open circle pointing left, and then greater than or equal to -3, closed circle pointing right. Okay, so here are your two correct answers, and that's all we needed to know about how to write compound inequalities. Just make sure you have your 9 things written in your notes. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.